So the reason why I say a business, for example, is because it's kind of all-encompassing of all roles involved. Economics, how we would practice economics, meaning like you have people that own a business, you have the people that work for the business, and all together, this is a civilization's means of livelihood, how they derive, money to sustain themselves, a living, so to speak. But before we get off into the business, in the thick of it, I want to point out something from the inception. If it's predicated upon a family structure, we got to see something about even going into that. So, Chad, can you start us out in Matthew chapter 5, verse 28?
Matthew chapter 5, verse 28. For I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
All right, so everybody heard that? Now, quite often in our community particularly, maybe not our assembly, but in our community particularly, this instruction is often watered down. How often have you all heard, well, yeah, because the woman could be married and you never know you're looking at a married woman or something like that, right? Okay. So, does anybody know the Greek word used here for wife? Or woman, rather? Can you get that to us, Chad?
The word is gune.
Gune.
A woman of any age, whether a virgin or married or a widow. Probably the base of a woman, specifically a wife woman.
Okay, so we see an interchangeable use of the word gune for woman or wife. Just as a point of reference, give us 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 10. You don't have to read it, but where it says woman there, why do I suffer a woman to teach? What's the Greek word there for woman?
Gune.
Gune. So we see the same word used in the Greek for woman as is used for wife. We do our due diligence and we look in the Old Testament, which our KJV manuscripts translate from Hebrew to English. We see the same word used for woman, interchangeable for wife, which is Isha. It's not like a distinct word given for the word wife. So what I'm getting at here is this. On innumerable occasions throughout the scriptures, when wife was intended, when the understanding of the woman being married was intended, we see it saying wife. It translates that way to give us a proper contextual understanding. So with that said, if we have innumerable occasions where it would have said wife, if that's what it meant, that's what he would have said. Or maybe he might have just spelled it out. Looking upon a married woman, looking upon someone. But he simply said wife. So what we have here is a similar situation, such as when the conversation of divorce comes up. We often err sometimes when we try to, to the T, we try to take it to the letter of the law, when it's not a letter of the law discussion being made there. It's a principle discussion being made there. So, do we have any ideas of what this could be speaking to on a principle level? If it's warning a gentleman against not admiring, but strongly desiring. I want this, I want you for me. Because you looked upon her and were satisfied with what you looked like. So what, can anybody see what this would be speaking to? If not the woman being married. Is any idea perhaps? Okay. So the next verses to come are going to give insight to a chief principle pertaining to the Most High's intent with the institution that is the foundation of family, which are marriages. So I want us to go to Genesis 1 and 28, Chad.
This is Refuge, chapter 1 and verse 28. over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
Okay, so from the get-go, first humans instructed to be fruitful and multiply. Let's jump ahead to the next series of humanity in chapter 9, verse 7. So we got Adam and Eve. Now we're jumping ahead with the new family we started over with.
This is Bereshit, chapter 9, verse 7. And you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein.
All right. So once again, prioritize. How many of you all have ever heard in business what slows the matter most? As they say.
The customer.
You say the customer? They say the customer's always right. But what do they typically say matters most? The bottom line. So in business, when you're distributing a good or service to satisfy the need or want of a customer base, how much product, how much service you sold is regarded as your production. So we know fruit is a produce style of the story.
Blow it out.
We often see produce, the concept of produce used in a particular way. Meaning like, we're speaking about directly procreating right now, right? The process of reproduction. So, root word there being production, produce, to multiply. Give us 1 Timothy 2 and 15.
This is 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry. Start us from the top. It's just 15 verses.
1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 1. I exhort therefore that first of all supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings, and for all that are in authority, that we may lead quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty.
So hold on, pause. So talking to who?
King.
Okay, so that's a male office being presided over, and it's saying to do what?
For all that are in authority,
All
that
right.
we may lead quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty.
So if you're the man, you gotta have honesty, integrity, peace, not being boastful, not being showboating, but humble. All right, continue on.
For this is good and acceptable in the sight of Elohim our Savior, who will have all men to be saved and to come unto the knowledge of the truth. For there is one Elohim and one mediator between Elohim and men, the man Mashiach Yahushua, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time. For unto am ordained a preacher, an apostle, I speak the truth in Mashiach, and lie not, a teacher of Gentiles in faith and verity. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. In like manner also that women adorn themselves in the modest apparel.
Hold on, pause. In like manner. So do we have a picture of what was being instructed to, the men in authority? The words being used, these are, this is somebody that's purposeful, that's on mission. They're giving words of prayer. It's not about exalting themselves. And then it says in like manner, because we got to connect out, so make sure we remember what we're connecting to. So go ahead.
In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array, but which becometh woman professing godliness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety.
Okay, so in recent lessons, we've learned different contexts of salvation throughout the scriptures. So, one could look at this at the surface and say, so I just got to pop some babies off and I'm sure in the kingdom. But if we take this chapter in context, something is being promoted and something is being condemned. Now, what we can see being condemned is vanity. If we throw out some synonyms for vanity, what will we have? I'll start us off. Uselessness. You got something, Sister Lynn?
Oh, I was thinking about the other one. I was going to say self-absorbing.
Yes, self-absorbing. That's the most common colloquial use.
But you said for vanity? Extra.
Yes. You said extra. So that's like a slang term used, and it's fitting though, right? Because extra is like unnecessary, right? It's like more than enough. I heard somebody else.
I said emptiness.
Emptiness. Okay. Here, I'll give another one. Void of purpose. It's something I'm looking for here though. It's contrary to a principle we keep seeing show up.
All good.
Counterproductive. Counterproductivity. So we can outright see that too, because I know often we go, this particular passage is explored to give a point of reference for like image. And sometimes as far as in the church goes, as far as who's doing what, but we see roles being established here. Then we see explanation, meaning it's functional value given to roles. So when telling somebody not to be in a particular role, it's saying, hey, it's a function we want having going on here. You know, it referenced who was in deception early on. We see that deception being introduced with somebody adding to take it away. So it's a point of reference given of a nature there that wouldn't be necessary for that office, dealing with something that we don't want to add to or take away from. So what we can see here is childbearing, the literal expression of procreation, the literal expression of the greatest production that life can produce, which is a life itself. We see as contrary to a nature of counterproductivity. Life is contrary to a nature of counterproductivity. But we can see the concept of productivity being coupled with life from the very first ones he created. And then we keep seeing this again and again. From Adam and Eve, from Noah, we see this principle discussed there in Timothy. But not only do we see a promotion of production, but we see a promotion of reproduction. So to produce and then multiply production. Now, I want us to be reminded of a principle in John, the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44.
This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. You are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar, and the father of it.
Okay, so we know the author of deception is the deceiver, the evaluator, Ashatan himself. So a particular deception that sometimes we can be subject to if we're not careful is the deception of that in the middle place. Like I'm not producing anything. when we buy into a mindset of counterproductivity, it's really buying into a mindset of producing evil. Because every life is going to produce something. This is harmonious with the nature of life. Even evil bears fruit. Can we get Genesis 3 and 6, please?
Refuge chapter 3, verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it is pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
So even the tree of knowledge of good and evil had fruit. Wasn't good for us, but it had fruit. Had produce. I want us to look at Genesis chapter 8, verse 17.
Refuge chapter 8, verse 17. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth.
So we got a point of reference from the institution of reproduction, how we beget life as human beings. And then just the creation of life, we can establish that production is a function of life. Seems to be like chief principal function in all actuality. So if we look at, I'm about to bring us to something in Genesis as a point of reference. But let's get Matthew chapter 5, verse 45.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. That ye may be children of your Father, which is in Shamayim, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust.
Okay. So to reinforce the principle that even evil bears fruit, we know that the Most High reigns on the just as well as the unjust. So, if we could make this practical some, the Most High created this place a certain way, according to His instructions. One is possible of taking the wisdom, taking the game, taking the instructions, and applying it for evil and producing. This wouldn't be wise for us as children of the covenant to do, because we know we're held highly accountable. We know that these things can't mix with the set apart things. It won't be productive for us. However, what I'm bringing us to look at is sometimes we err in being a respecter of persons for rich or poor sake. So when that comes to mind, what do we typically think of when y'all think about being a respecter of persons for rich or poor sake?
The rich get special treatment. They get placed into by other people. You know what I'm saying? They get privilege.
So he was saying rich person privilege. What do they call that thing? It's like a mental illness, affluenza or something like that. The more affluent or something, the more you actually got that, it's supposed to cause a mental illness or something. So we often think about jacking a rich person. How many people are familiar with, it's a Roman Catholic practice called poverty vow? Yeah, that's what they call it. I mean, it's pretty common in our community too. It's just not categorized in the same way. You know, some of us call it the broke Israelite doctrine. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it don't just say respect a person for rich sake. It say for rich or poor sake. So one's righteousness isn't measured in their poverty or their riches. Just like one's wickedness isn't measured in sometimes a person's they desire to get something from somebody, they may look down on somebody for being poor or something like that. But then at the same time too, when they get full of their own righteousness, is just an automatic condemnation for one's prosperity, for one's success. When we look at like a lot of your, as they're called, elite families, not the elect, but elite families, as far as wealth is concerned, we can see them applying some practices that are good works. If Romans 10 and 13 defines love as the fulfillment of the law, we can see them showing some love. Maybe not enough love as far as the love that defines our faith, because in our faith we know we love how? We get the Most High all our mind, all our hearts, and we love one another as ourselves, right? Okay. So what I'm getting at is, oftentimes we maybe not us personally, but we may run the risk of scoffing at actions of love, simply because we're doing idolatry in a less acknowledged way. Yahushua HaMashiach is our measuring stick in the scriptures. Nobody else. So I say that to say, we have accounts where sometimes, particular instances, you see certain people's judgments are told to us for us to learn from. When that's not the case, we don't really have no place sending nobody to a lake of fire that we don't have for them. So we have stories with people that we're supposed to be able to look at and learn from as far as what transpired from the work that they did. Did the Most High bless it? Did the Most High curse it? Did the Most High let it stand? Did he increase it? Did he get a judgment for it? Did he get rewarded for it? So we're able to look at these instances, and then it's up to the Most High who searches the inward parts, how he does the overall summary on those people. I'm taking us to a train of thought to take us to an unlikely place in the scriptures where there's a point of reference of good works, as we can identify them as love, at least to the extent for self, which is a prerequisite to love somebody as yourself. You gotta love yourself. We can see at the very least a lot of the people flourishing, they're applying a degree of self-love in the first place. So give us, before we go there, give us Luke chapter 6, verse 32.
Luke chapter 6, verse 32. For if ye love them which love you, what thank have ye, for sinners also love those that love them?
Okay. So, to be able to learn something from the examples given and not try to just exalt ourselves in comparative fashion, right? Let's put our minds on the sinner, wicked. They, according to the gospel, are capable of, can be identified by, and they at least love those that love them. So, obviously we know it's an expectation for us to go further, but here's a point of reference to be able to validate or solidify that we may be looking at love when we see it, at least to the extent of self-love and love in exchange for those that love us. Let's go to Genesis 4, chapter 7. Chapter 4, verse 7. I'm sorry. And before we go there, I want us to put our minds on the song we just sang, as far as the nature of the Most High. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, right? We understand that our salvation, our righteousness, is not going to be measured upon our bloodline. Form Yeshua. All day, for sure. Rise Israel. I'm with you. That ain't getting us in the kingdom, though, right? Come? Okay. And we understand while we're the ambassadors of the keys to the kingdom, we have a service to humanity at large, which allows individuals to be grafted in to that kingdom that we were given ambassadorship. in likewise fashion, we know our arch enemies as a nation. We know judgments of individuals can be grafted into that nation as far as, Edom goes. We know individuals from there can be on our side, like individuals from our side can be on their side in the end of it. And the Most High is what? The same yesterday, today, and forever, right? So I want to take us to a time in antiquity to where we were able to identify contrasting cultures as commonly referred to as sons of Elohim, daughters of man, representative of two different bloodlines per se, where we have sometimes perhaps made the error of marginalizing all people to be one way, when we're going to point out some things evidentially where that may have not necessarily, been so. Brother Travis, as we were speaking on the other day or whatnot, you pointed out an interesting point in the opening of Genesis 5, how it discusses Adam's generations, and it distinguished that it wasn't just talking about flesh, but like according to his image and likeness. And we referenced how a son who rejects chastising is bastardized. So, with the consistency of the text, it made me think about the tribe of Dan. So, we know he lost inheritance as far as 12 tribes of Israel go. And I'm not saying I'm saying just 12 tribes of Israel go with the kingdom to come.
Yeah.
Does that mean every individual from Dan, particularly?
No.
Because that wouldn't even be fair, right? Now, we're not going to see that bloodline mentioned because they're not a part of that inheritance. They're not a part of that. So we don't see this bloodline mentioned because it's a continuation of one that we know was bastardized. But I'm about to point out something about some particulars down here. So if we ready, Chad, read for us Genesis chapter 4, verse 7.
This is Refuge chapter 4 and verse 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lies at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
So this was said to Cain, who was deemed the wicked one. Scriptures gave us that. But we see it was a fairness there with him. We see later in Ezekiel how each person has that fairness that they're able to be dealt with. It's not the sin of the father, then now they're just doomed. Now, from an economic vantage point, I want us to think about how confusion on this matter can be detrimental to us. Think about it now. Cain, they're all cursed. They're wicked. It's a wicked bloodline. This sounds like a familiar doctrine, doesn't it? This same doctrine has been used to substantiate lies like curse of Ham. This supposed to justify the perpetual enslavement of all melanated people. But here, we know the truth, and we don't even come from Ham. Yeah, but we come from a nation where the curses are prophesied in way more detailed, graphic fashion than just the ambiguity that's spoken on with Ham. So if we take on this mentality that, man, I'm from the nation of the curse, my forefathers did what they did, and I'm wicked if I try, I'm going to be cursed, that could be detrimental. And it's contrary to the truth. So, give us Matthew chapter, matter of fact, no, before we go there, let's stay here in Genesis. So, let's jump down to, I want to say, verse 19.
This is Refuge chapter 4, verse 19.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Before we go there. What was Cain's sins? Like, what can we verify? Like Brother Twan always said, I gotta be able to see that. So he was a wicked one. What can we verify? Chad said he killed his brother. Yes. I would say it was 2 more things even before that. I would add a 4 that we can see for sure. He killed his brother. I would say that's 3.
Cheated the offering.
He did not give the Most High all his mind and all his heart.
Mm-hmm.
That is the first great commandment that the whole law is summed up to, out of the 2 is summed up to. And as Travis just said, he cheated the offering. He didn't give his all. How we know that? It's written that he was gifted in the area that his offering was asked of him, and it still was whack. So it's evident that he could have did better. That was the context of that conversation where the Most High told him, if you do well, you'll get well. So he already didn't give him his all. In between him not giving him his all and murdering his brother, what did he do?
He got smart with the father.
In between not giving his all and murdering his brother,
He lied.
you said he lied?
He was deceitful. He was being deceitful.
He lied after he murdered his brother, though, right?
Oh, you talking about? You said in between.
Yep.
Well,
It's right in the 10 Commandments.
let's see.
Take his name in vain. Your fault.
Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, maybe we don't see that outright.
Honor your mother and your father.
Say what?
Honor your mother and your father.
No, that's later. We're about to get into that in this same chapter. He coveted. He envied his brother and he coveted what was for him. The respect that the Most High had for his brother's sacrifice, he wanted that. So, and as this later said, he murdered his brother for his own iniquity. His own iniquity, not doing his best. Envying his brother, murdered his brother. We didn't see him repent. These are 4 things. Now, if we take on an idolatrous mind and we make Cain our measuring stick, we can possibly go into error. If we try to just vilify everything, because these are the things that we can verify. So now we're ready for you with verse 19, Chad.
Sadiq.
This is Bereshit, chapter 4, verse 19. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah.
Hold on. Can you give us the Hebraic meaning of Adah?
Ornament.
Ornament. Okay. Like something you deck something out with. So it seemed like he had her pretty much well put together. Now granted, when we dealing with names, we don't gotta put too much on it because it's a couple different theories given to us about the biblical names. And I mean, that's on us when we take to it or whatever. But this could be a testament of character from a vantage point of what one's parents seen in their lives in the first 8 days, which is our culture to do, which could literally be the name that we're reading, and that could be how he encountered her. There's theories that it was different names, and as it was packaged to give to us, they were given to us to have insight to the character we're reading of, because everybody's parents may have not just been a prophet to know what they were going to be like or whatnot. But from one vantage point or another, we can identify something either foreseen or intent of parents with the raising of them, or at least how they're been characterized. So with one of his wives, we can see her being, in her name, representing being put together well. And the other one's Zillah.
Shade, the second wife of Lamech, mother of Tubal Cain, and instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron.
Zillah.
Yeah.
Her name.
Yeah.
The definition.
Shade.
Shay, okay.
Second wife
So,
of Lamech, mother of Tubal Cain, instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron.
so when you outside, it's sunny, you trying to get out the way. Like, I'm just looking at 2 things that most women typically would aspire to achieve in marriage. A husband that's going to put them together nicely, and have them put up. So we see that with his 2 wives so far. Go ahead.
And Adad bare Jabal, who was the father of such dwell in tents, and such as have a cattle.
Okay.
And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handled the harp and organ.
Okay. And if we look at the what those first 2 sons' name mean in Hebrew, I believe you said the first one is Jubal or Jabal?
Jabal.
Jubal. Okay, the first one is Jubal. And his name would mean stream.
Stream of water.
Jubal, his name,
Stream of water.
Okay, the first one. Jubal, his name is stream of water. Jubal, his name is stream. So we got put together well, put up 2 streams. Read on.
And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artifice. In brass, iron, and the sister of Tubal Cain was Namah.
Okay. So the sister, Namah. In Hebrew, that name would mean loveliness.
Yeah.
Now, I want to focus on Tubal Cain a little bit. And then we're going to work our way back with something that we didn't speak on here. So Tubal Cain name would mean the will or legacy of Cain to be done. Now we know Cain is the great grandfather of Lamech, or is he his great grandfather? I think he's his triple great grandfather. We can look at it. We're in chapter 4.
Man. So Cain had Enoch. Enoch had Irad. Irad had Mahujael.
Cain begat Enoch. Enoch begat Arad. Arad begat, how do you say it?
Mahujael.
Mahujael.
Mahujael. Mahujael had Methuselah. Methusael.
Methusael.
And Methusael had Lamech. So that's 4 generations.
Okay. So far, we can see when Cain was instructed, a couple things happened with Cain. Let's go back to verse 3. Chapter 3, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's up in chapter 4. So Genesis chapter 4, verse 9. And Yahuwah said unto Cain, where is Abel, your brother? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahuwah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me shall slay me. And Yahuwah said unto him, therefore whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahuwah set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Now, Cain was cursed to be a bum pretty much. That's what a vagabond, another word for a vagabond. Like you ever watched the cartoons and you saw people pack up their whole life's accumulation in a blanket and tie it up over a stick and put it over their shoulder and walk up the street. That's a vagabond. So, he told Cain his ministry wouldn't be vegetation, agriculture. The ground wouldn't produce for him like that, right? It seemed like he believed that. What did Cain go do next? He went and built a city. The Most High assured him he would have his protection. What do we typically see cities function as in the scriptures? You say what? Yeah, a lot of business. Kingdom. Protection. Indeed. Comes to mind like City of Refuge, for example, right? So we see he applied his hand to a work that the Most High assured would stand in its functional purpose. He built something that would be purposed in protecting him because he had his protection. So at the very least, something not ready. I'm not trying to justify Cain, you know what I'm saying? But as the scriptures we read told us, the Most High ran on the just as well as the unjust. You know, even the sinner love those that love him. That love he expected of his children, we see a certain love that was shown to them. Just because I'm cursed to be a bum, don't mean it's not incumbent upon me to do. If I don't even see the fruits of that labor in my lifetime, I can build a foundation for something that my children now don't have to inherit that same curse of. See, that's the fairness with the Most High. If you consider how could Pops be and then I not be, because he could put in some work. And then we got to think about accountability. If we are buying into this I'm doomed because of a bloodline thing, where's the accountability in that? Even down to, let's think about this. Most of us are first generation truth. You know, I'm sure we can all relate to having family that may not walk this walk with us in the truth. They may not be Torah observers, but we can't deny the love that's been shown and they continue to show to us. So if we are the only Bible that they may have read thus far, we got to consider, are we going to lead to them coming into the truth, or are we going to look like hypocrites of what we represent? Because what's one law we can keep that our elders particularly are going to be able, it's going to reach them to know if we true to this or not? What's one law we know we can keep that's going to reach our elders, that they don't know we true to this? Shabbat? What if you don't live with your parents? They don't know what you're going to do on the Shabbat? Our elders. You say what? Honor thy father and thy mother. The honor that we commanded to do there. You mentioned this recently about how you can't be a guerrilla subordinate. You know? So, but if we get into the continuity of writing people off, condemning people for what we're able to observe, then we turn around and we fall short of the honor, they figuring we must just like whatever the tenets are of the faith that we are observing, because we clearly not true to it, whatever that power is, and bring us to the fullness of what we representing for real. And we do it a disservice. Because what we can see here is, despite Cain being cursed, a certain work he laid down as a man is supposed to do, as far as having a vision and a plan. Like I mentioned, like how your elite families, how they plan centuries ahead of time and whatnot. What was it, like 5 generations later? 4 to 5, because I'm counting from the back then as his children. 4 to 5 generations later, Lamech had a mind to name a child, bringing light to the fact that, hey, I'm going to build upon the patriarchal legacy that my forefather laid down. And I'm going to be intentional. Remember when we started off talking about productivity, right? I'm going to be intentional about how I structure my family to be able to fulfill this word. Fruitful. We see he was trying to multiply. He went and got him 2 wives. Start reproducing. You see, after what he named them after, if we even go back to that, right? We see a couple things mentioned for the first time here. And I know it's a lot of opinions about one that stands out particularly or whatnot, right? But we also see music mentioned for the first time here. Isn't that commanded in our worship? What we actually see here is the foundation of industry that would drive that city forward from that family. Now, granted, again, Cain's bloodline wasn't in the inheritance and all that, right? So we don't see, and it didn't continue, so we don't see it mentioned in the succession. But the scripts don't just point out like stuff for nothing. So it's mentioning them to give us a point of reference to something. Think about it. It zeroed in on this particular family. Now, we see, where are we at? We're at verse 19. Okay, so we read up through verse 22. So we see industry established, we see intention behind the names. Let's read verse 23.
Refuge chapter 4, verse 23.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
Hold on. Do y'all understand what he described here? Can somebody tell me what did he just inform his wives of?
He just murdered somebody.
What, say it again, sister.
Killed somebody.
He told him he killed somebody. Anybody else? Read it again, chat.
He's saying somebody hurt him, so he killed him.
Read it again.
It says, and Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
Ladies, come here. Listen to me. I got to tell y'all something. Adah, Zillah, it's serious. Listen. I had to lay a couple suckers down. They jumped me. They was getting the best of a brother. I'm hurt. If you're wondering why I'm kind of swole right here, he was getting me. I was hanging in there, but he had his partner with him. But look though, read on.
If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
Okay. So, I see something here, right? When you remember when Cain committed murder, but he had a conscience of, he knew this was wrong, which is why he was expecting consequence. Now, one could say, yeah, at that time he was raised in the family that was being raised in the way, right? But now he went off. He went away from him. We see a knowledge preserved of right and wrong. And somewhere along this line here, we see somebody with a mindset of maybe not necessarily after patterning, because remember, just as we're honoring our elders, don't mean we got to repeat their mistakes. It seems like he has an understanding between, for example, grace given to Cain, a certain protection, sevenfold. For him to conceptualize, this one got 7, a 1 and 1, or maybe I'll get 11-fold. It seems to be saying, hey, if my great-great-great-grandfather got a protection and he was committing murder, it seems like this is a man doing a man's job, as far as protection goes, informing his wives that it could be some danger on us. I just had to do something that's not, think about it, the Most High's presence was more known in this time. It was more of a fear of him. It was more of a sensitivity to right and wrong in this time. People wasn't playing that stuff. So he let them know, yeah, this might not be viewed cool. As men, we got to protect those we're presiding over. This would be irresponsible to just people out here looking for you and whatnot. Your family don't even know what's going on. But at the same time, look at the security that he imparted upon them to let them know, hey, but trust though, the Most High gonna be with us though, for real, because I was protecting myself. Great-grandfather got it, he was a murderer. I know we good, for sure, because I was protecting myself. So, what we see here is, you can learn some stuff on principle from your elders that they whole life might not have it right. The Most High may have a different judgment on them when it's said and done than he may have on you. But that don't dismiss you from learning from them. That don't dismiss you from honoring them, because it's only going to help you be able to bear fruit with whatever the foundation there is that was laid there for you. Give us Hebrews. No, we already went there. Give us Matthew chapter 7, verse 19.
This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 19. Every tree that bringeth not forth fruit, or good fruit, is hewn down and cast into the fire.
All right. So before we unpack that, I didn't mention, by the way, right? So everybody knows when we read the word God, all throughout the Old Testament particularly, right? In all caps. What did they translate that from in Hebrew?
Elohim.
Elohim. A plural word, a singular word, Elohim. Which properly would translate to power or powers. We unpacked everybody's name, but before we move on, I wanted to bring some attention to Lamech's name in Hebrew, meaning powerful. Elohim, power, Elohim, God. Okay. But Matthew chapter 7, verse 19 says, every tree that doesn't bring forth good fruit is hewn down. Often we think about not bringing forth fruit and we don't pay attention to detail about it saying good fruit. Because remember we said earlier how you producing something. So you make a decision not to produce good, you put yourself on the other side. So we just showed an example of some love that can be exhibited from the wicked. We showed an example of how you don't have to necessarily fall into the trap of just inheriting a wicked lifestyle because of where you come from. Because we didn't see flaw with them, particularly at all like that. Now, it's a principle that continued on through the scriptures. It started with Adam, that went on with Noah, and it shows back up with the nation that he grafted out of the reset from Noah to be the example for humanity. And that's Genesis 35 and 11.
Refuge chapter 35, verse 11. And Elohim said unto him, I am Elohim Almighty, be fruitful and multiply, and nation and company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins.
Okay, so we back on this production tip now, and its purpose to Israel. Now I want to try to put it together full circle if we can see it, as far as on a principle level, as it's showing up on a tangible level. Because, broke Israelite doctrine would say, hey, we not in our land no more. We in the land of our captivity. We in captivity. Captivity. Matter of fact, we in Babylon. Spiritually Babylon. Well, let's go to Jeremiah 29 and see what was commanded to us literally in Babylon. Jeremiah 29, from the top through verse 7.
This is Jeremiah chapter 29, starting in verse 1. Now these are the words of the letter of Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of elders which were carried away captives, and to the priests, and to the prophets, to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. After Jeconiah, the king and the queen and the eunuchs and the princes of Judah and Jerusalem and the carpenters and the smiths were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Elisah, the son of Shaphan, and Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, sent to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, saying, Thus says Yahuwah of the host of Elohim of Israel, unto all that carried away captives,
To all that are carried away captives,
whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem,
who he caused to be carried away. So this is the same dealing. The Most High has caused on Israel captivity. Let's go.
build ye houses and dwell in them,
Build ye houses.
and plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them.
The fruit of your, okay. Fruit of
Take
your
ye
labor.
wives, and begot sons and daughters, and take wives for sons, and give your daughters to husbands that may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased therein, and not diminished. And seek the peace of the city whither I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray unto Yahuwah for it. For in peace thereof shall ye have peace. For thus says Yahuwah, host, Elohim of Israel, let not your prophets and your diviners, and that be in the midst of you, deceive you, neither hearken to your dreams, which ye caused to be dreamed.
That's good, Chad. And I'm glad you read on to verse 8, because I was saying verse 7. But it's funny. We get warned about not being deceived by our prophets. And it's very common that we got brothers today that would profess to be prophets of the Lord and would literally condemn you for attempting to, and I quote, flourish in the land of your captivity. They would condemn you for seeking peace in the land of your captivity. They would esteem you for seeking misery because that's so-called being a real Israel. No. So, while we got breakdown upon breakdown about the geographical location of Babylon and where it stood, on an even more important level, understanding the spiritual significance of that today, as it's not limited to a geographical location. And then on a whole nother level, understanding that as literal as it ever was, it never meant for us not to choose the path, the way that Yahushua Mashiach personifies, who reverses curses. He's the chain breaker. So the more that you're trying to live up to a failed example of antiquity, the more contrary you're walking to who is supposed to be the measuring stick for you. We got to be encouraged, y'all. So now we see some tangibles put together there. Get you some land, build on it, eat the fruits of your labor thereof. Do we understand that when our kingdom stood, or empire rather, of kingdoms of 12 tribes, and the concept of inheritance and land was inseparable? You inherited land, ran your business on it, produced generational wealth, continued it on. This was so important that, you know, we can even read in Numbers where girls that didn't have brothers who received inheritance were obligated to marry in their tribe to preserve the integrity of the kingdoms at large, for the wealth not to be robbed from one to the other. The Most High always had concern for our economic welfare, and a lack thereof was always a result of disobedience. So now that we see something introduced tangibly, I'm just going to give us an overview as far as principles go, and some precepts that we can identify them showing up in, and perhaps at later times we can unpack one at a time in more graphic detail or whatnot. But from where we just left off in Jeremiah 29, because the question will be posed, well, where do we start? So we've established one chief principle already that has to start before you even try to start your family. You can't start your family off, man, she fine over there. Oh, he tall, dark, and handsome. You want somebody like admire, cool. This may pique an interest, but then there's a process of investigation. There's a vetting. where assessment can be done to evaluate the productivity of this team. It's the bottom line. How many times have we seen time and time again? Because the example of productivity that's used from the get-go was reproduction, was life, right? You think it's a coincidence in our cursed conditions that having a baby is often perceived as a liability, as a takeaway, as a financial drain? Come on, man, we know how this child support system works. How often do you see brothers celebrating unless they marry per se? Meaning, we got real life examples right now where when you go to producing a life and the foundation ain't set yet, it's usually a disaster financially. Even if they are celebrating, it's not because of financial. It's not, they're not thinking streams like Lamech was thinking with his sons. So let's go principle with it. I first want to go to Matthew 25, 14 and 30. And I want us to think about what was going on, because some would say Cain shouldn't have built that city, The Most High said, hey, we got protection, and if the Most High tell us we good with something, we just sit back and just, put no work to it, right? So let's go to Matthew chapter 25, verse 14.
Matthew chapter 25, verse 14. For the kingdom of Shamayim is as a man traveling into a far country who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Master, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His master said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy master. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Master, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents, and beside them. His master said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy master. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I knew thee that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His master answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed, not and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance, but from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness, therefore shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, all right. What we see here is, not going to work, not putting it on the line to reproduce, to multiply production. We see a number of things. We see some soft stuff, man. And that don't have nothing to do with being a man. And that's the only thing that a woman should join herself on to. So that got nothing to do with life, because that's unfaithful. Antonym of faith is fear. He called him scary. And he called him wicked. that is. Give it to somebody that is. It said the Most High uses good and evil. So we got to consider, if we're supposed to be the lights to the world, we have to consider, if we are amongst much darkness, can we afford to keep, as the salt of the earth, can we afford to keep having our substance given to others? And they showing us what they doing with it, but the Most High said it ain't working. I can use that for something. Maybe you need to keep getting taught a lesson. Get away from me, by the way. So scary behind. No cowards roll with me. It's the Most High power. You can't weaken that body with cowardice. Chief principle salvational matter, faith. So we're gonna come back and I want us to familiarize ourselves with the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verses 22 to 23. But before you get into those verses, a few verses up, it's funny, it's another witness to the fact of how evil produces as well, too. You see works of the flesh. As it discusses the fruits of the Spirit, it concludes saying how there is no law against any of those principles. So, just to give an overview, if we think in terms of practicing economics, keeping the love in it, well, this has to do with dealing lawful. I mean, logically speaking, would you have more business or less if you limited it to Israel? It would be less, right? You do business with everybody. We have point of reference to that in the scripts. We see how we could trade and serve as merchants to other nations and whatnot. So that principle of love there, we're going to show a little universal applicability, how it would behoove us to, to have that love, because it's possible to be peaceable with everybody. The principle of peace, about not being cutthroat, how we have precepts that, because often the worldly concept of business, the competition thing, be it from a vantage point of having people competing, cutting each other's throats on the workplace, or if it's just cutting the throat of other brands that are on the marketplace with you. So we're going to go into some precepts about where we can see how the moral fabric of the law protects the principle of peace. We concluded our last service on the Shabbat with Psalms 90 and 12, which reinforces long-suffering as it pertains to goal setting and the persistence necessary in long-suffering. A real good one I really wanted to get to unpack tonight, but we're not going to have time, but it's definitely worthy of a time in on itself. It's not often explored with the fruits of the Spirit, which is gentleness. Man, I can't begin to tell you, and this is why I spend so much time with Lamech's family, is because, I put up a post and I said how to cultivate the mind of a perpetual slave, you would have to convince him that he's not entitled to defend himself. Slavery is the biggest, chattel slavery in America is the biggest industry here. Surely you don't think they just closed up the biggest industry for the kindness of their heart. They closed down the part that was least profitable. Because we can go into the Torah and we can see how when the concept is getting our people on the road to redemption on a material basis, as far as getting self-sufficient again, it wasn't a rigor to just put a load on them to keep them having to do work like that. Now, not to say that rigor with others that it's lawful to be rigorous with means being cruel, because it was always a line that divided abuse from self-governing or whatnot. So I'm just simply saying we stand more to gain, and we'll go into that later, but we stand more to gain from preserving the integrity of Torah as it pertains to business with one another to get our brothers and sisters back on our feet, self-sufficient as families, where we're sustaining, where a job is a temporary means to get back sustaining ourselves, where all the override money is coming to our, back home. And if people happy, they're gonna produce better. We're gonna go into that later though. Goodness, debunking the broke Israelite doctrine. Like, if you're spirit filled, if you're working, because a dead member of the body is cancerous, it gotta be cut off. You're a working member of the true and living body of Mashiach, you're gonna be personifying some Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. It's gonna be some success. It's gonna be some good coming from that people are gonna be able to bear witness to inquire of you the source of your wisdom, as it was told it will work for us in such fashion. We opened up talking about meekness and how that's antonymous to showboat and anything else is counterproductive. And obviously, if this thing is set up to give us self-sufficiency, redemption, that means you're not a master no more. But before we get into all that, on a spiritual level, you have to be able to achieve temperance, which is that self-mastery in the first place. Or you're going to justify the oppression that we have sang spirituals about for generations. It's justified, like they need to be civilized, But so with that, I just want us to think that the truth will make you free. So in the works that we do, let's maintain faith, let's maintain love, let's maintain that joy, which is another one we're going to discuss too, and joy comes from within, not without. If you're chasing the bag, that's from without. If you focus on the member that you are in the body, if you focus on, you already got a reward before you got paid, because it's like, what, you play ball, Trav. Did you ever just want to be on a team because they was a good team and you would be able to get a trophy with them? If you weren't going to be used on the court, what am I doing here? It's an insult, right? Exactly. So so that's that joy thing when it's purpose driven. Like, we pursue the kingdom, these things be added to us. I just want us to know that our work pays us in freedom when we working for the good master. So we're going to come back to this and unpack this a little bit more, but I just wanted to establish a principle foundation today. All praises to the Most High. Shalom, Hallelujah.
Y'all give Brother Harry a round of applause, please. Very thorough. It's just a reminder, man, that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And if you only looking at the negative for negative, then you will never be able to see the lessons that you can learn. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are turned off their thought process to what happened with Cain and all of them and his family just because it's Cain. So you don't get to take the meat from that. Like, it's in our text for a reason. It's in the book for a reason. You know what I'm saying? No idle words. So all praises for my being able to pull that out. And the more things that he's gonna be able to put out and show everybody, just from an economic standpoint and how to build proper business using all of the scriptures and not just the things that are glorified by everybody. The things that are glorified are almost put people in the mindset of it's unattainable. right? Solomon is glorified because of his business. He's glorified because of his work. But then people think, well, Solomon was super rich, and he was the richest man and the wisest man. So in their minds, that's not attainable, right? It's like an automatic shutoff for that. But when you think about somebody like Cain, that was put out, you know what I'm saying? He walking around like like a bum, like a vagabond. It's like, he did what? Oh, well, if he can do that being the wicked one, I can do it too. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that stuff in your mental, man. When you going and putting your hand to the plow with your own businesses, there's a lesson to learn in every word of the text. Just make sure you learn it, and don't make it too late. Don't let it be hindsight 2020. Like, man, back when I had the opportunity, I could have. If I would have just, don't be that person. You know what I'm saying? Learn what you can learn now, so you can flourish now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, let's pray. Yahuwah, merciful Father, we thank you for allowing us to hear the word today. We thank you for the speaker that spoke, Father. We thank you for allowing him to be able to view the scriptures in such a unique way, to pull out principles that would prayerfully become a foundation for those that heard it. We ask, Father, for the words that were spoken today and the scriptures that were read today to be a meditation in the mind and in the heart, that it can dwell in the mind and be stamped in the heart, Father, that we may be able to walk these things out. And that we continue to open our hearts and our minds to the many facets of what you have, of what you've given us in your scriptures, Father. We honor you, we thank you, and we love you. I ask that you increase each and every person under the sound of my voice with their business endeavors, with their family endeavors. That you allow us to see the error of our ways when it comes to business, that we may be able to turn our situations around because we serve an Elohim that can turn anything around. But a lot of times it takes the lesson first, Father. So give us the lesson, show us the lesson, that we may be able to learn and ultimately grow. All these things we pray and we give thanks in the mighty name of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, Ruach HaKodesh. So be it. So be it. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.